This podcast reveals why certain men leave a lasting impression in a woman's mind without chasing her, forcing her, or pretending to be someone they're not. The reality, brother, is simple. Women rarely obsess over men who are predictable, always available, or who don't have their own world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone listening to this podcast. May God grant you protection, clarity, and inner strength in your love life. Brother, there are women who appear indifferent, who don't show excessive interest or intensity, yet for some reason, they constantly think about certain men. And it's not because these men are the most handsome, the richest, or the most attentive. The reason is far more subtle. It's the small, unresolved details that stay in her mind. A conversation that ended at its most interesting point. Your calm yet unpredictable nature. That feeling left incomplete but never forced. These moments create a deep psychological effect. The more she tries not to think about you, the more her mind returns to your name. Not because of drama or because she's complicated, but because her brain is processing something that hasn't fully closed. Well-documented psychological mechanisms explain why someone can repeatedly think about a person even when rationally it shouldn't make sense. This podcast does not teach manipulation, hurting feelings, or interfering in someone else's relationship. Here we focus on personal value, presence, and emotional maturity. Women rarely obsess over men who are predictable, always present, always available, and without their own life. On the contrary, they think more about a man who has his own world, his own rhythm, and doesn't make her the center of his existence, but still makes her feel important. In this episode, we'll break down 5 deep, subtle, and non-obvious psychological keys that make a woman think about you without you having to chase her or force anything. Warning, don't use these strategies with women who already have partners, not because they won't work, but because your value is too high to be used in a cowardly way. Key 1. The power of the unfinished, Zeigarnik Effect. Let's be clear, women rarely overthink about the safe man. The man who always sends tidy messages, says good morning and good night at the same time every day, is kind, but he leaves no mark. On the other hand, a man who simply says, "It was nice talking to you," and then withdraws leaves a mental space that her brain automatically tries to fill. This is called the Zeigarnik Effect. Incomplete tasks or unfinished events remain in memory longer than completed ones. When a conversation stops at its most interesting point, her mind doesn't forget. It keeps processing. What did he mean? Does he like me? Why was he different with me? You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't pressure her. You didn't chase her. You just left a space, and her brain handled the rest. Key 2. Don't be too resolved. Many men believe that being completely clear from the start creates attraction. Good intention, bad timing. The man who gives everything too soon is like a movie that reveals the ending in the first 10 minutes. You just met someone, and already you share your life, traumas, plans, and commitment. The female brain interprets this as, I understand everything now. And when something is fully understood, curiosity and excitement fade. Women need security, yes, but they also need emotional exploration. Humans bond more with what they discover themselves, not with what is handed to them. Not being too resolved means pacing, presence, and healthy mystery. The conversation stops at the right moment and her mind continues on its own, filling in the gaps and increasing her mental investment. Key 3. Quality of emotional moments over quantity. A common mistake is thinking frequency matters more than intensity. Many quick, superficial conversations create emotional saturation. Instead, a single strong emotional moment, a genuine laugh, a real connection, is far more memorable. The human brain remembers emotional peaks in the end of an interaction, not every trivial message. That's why every time you appear, it should feel meaningful, not a constant obligation. This aligns with the well-documented peak-in rule in psychology. Key 4. Keep your own world. Self-expansion theory. A man who makes a woman the absolute center of his life quickly loses attractiveness. The self-expansion theory states that people are attracted to those who expand their world, not limit it. If you have your own life, goals, social circles, and meaningful activities, your presence is perceived as valuable. The woman subconsciously notices that your life doesn't depend on her, yet her participation is significant. This creates a healthy mental tension that makes her think about you longer. Key 5. Emotional contrast and surprise. Humans respond strongly to contrast. A man who is predictable in every moment becomes background noise, but someone who occasionally surprises her emotionally through humor, insight, or a small thoughtful action creates spikes in her attention and memory. These emotional contrasts make interactions memorable. One day you're playful, the next reflective, one moment intense, the next calm. This unpredictability isn't manipulation, it's creating a dynamic presence that stands out in her mind. Key 6. Scarcity of availability. Being too available lowers perceived value. Women, like anyone, are drawn to what seems slightly elusive, not because they like games, but because the mind naturally values things that aren't constant. You can still be caring and attentive without being overly present. Let her experience your absence occasionally. This gap gives her mind room to revisit your interactions and fill in the blanks with curiosity and intrigue. Key 7. The power of shared experiences. Memory ties strongly to emotion. When you share unique experiences, fun moments, small adventures, or even meaningful conversations, your presence becomes associated with emotional highs. Even if you're not physically present, recalling those moments triggers emotional responses that link directly to you. This builds a mental bookmark in her mind that she revisits repeatedly. Key 8. Subtle reminders and thought triggers. A subtle touch, a casual inside joke, or a message that references a past moment can remind her of you without overtly seeking attention. These micro-triggers plant seeds in her mind that bloom over time, increasing her mental focus on you naturally. Key 9. Confidence in silence. Not every interaction needs words. Silent confidence, through body language, presence, or calm demeanor, communicates value without needing validation. Women notice men who are self-assured yet not overpowering. Your silence can be powerful. It shows you're comfortable with yourself and your world, which makes her brain subconsciously invest more in thinking about you. Closing notes for part 2. Brother, all these strategies are about presence, value, and subtlety. They're not about manipulation, tricks, or forcing outcomes. The men who leave lasting impressions in women's minds do so naturally. They create emotional contrasts, leave unfinished cycles, maintain their own world, and give women room to think, feel, and imagine. Use these keys responsibly. Respect boundaries. And remember, the goal is attraction through authenticity, not coercion.